I'm curious about how you came across the plant-based diet.
Okay, so it all stemmed from trying to save money, actually, originally. It's not as it's a weird way in which I've gone around it. So I used to eat a lot of meat. I was, like I said, I was trying to get big as I could. I was eating a lot in one go. Like sometimes I was eating like 4 or 5 pork chops in one meal. Like I could eat a lot of food in one go. And I found that it was costing me so much money. And this is, I'm assuming it's the same in America. It is here in the UK, but the inflation, food prices, it's crazy now. Even
Mm.
back then, it was costing me a lot of money. And where I worked at the time, my manager was a vegetarian, and she had other reasons why she went vegetarian. But one of the reasons she goes, it's so much cheaper. And I thought, bugger it, I'll give it a go. Like I'm spending so much, as long as I can get enough protein. I thought back like that back then I'll give it a go. So did it a few weeks. I was just supplementing with lots of like dairies. I was drinking lots of milk, cottage cheese, all those different stuff like that. And I was just getting really bad bloating. But there was benefits to going vegetarian from other things like that. Apparently there was. And then while looking at vegetarian, there was always the things on Google where it was like vegetarian or vegan. I was like, I've never heard of vegan or plant-based before. So I thought, all right, I'll have a little look at it, look up some information. And then it all came up with those 15 chronic diseases. And if you go plant-based or vegan, you can dramatically reduce the chance of you getting it and all the health things. And I thought, I've never heard of it. My health is the most important thing. Health is wealth. And, you don't know what it's like until you're ill. Like I want to live as long as I possibly can, but I also want to have a good quality of life. So if changing my diet can do that, it's worth a go. And I didn't realize until I started looking it up how much nutrition plays a huge role in everything to do with your health. And you can even correlate it to I don't care about that, I just want to get big and strong. Your nutrition plays a massive role in building muscle, to recovery, inflammation, all those sort of things. So I then got on to watch a couple of videos on YouTube about it, and then I got onto nutritionfacts.org, and like that was just a treasure trove of information. Like normally you see people on YouTube and they're making these claims that you won't get heart disease or cancer, or you reduce the risk and all this sort of stuff, but how much credibility do these people have? And then suddenly you get this doctor that's going through this thing who's showing you all the studies and a video format. If you want to look through all the journals, you can. And then I just literally just got all of that. I read his How Not to Die book, and I was just like blown away with how much information is on there, what certain things, just like turmeric, how much of an impact it can have on your body, to amla, to all these different things, antioxidants. And I was just like blown away with it. I just went down a rabbit hole with it all. And then I watched, I think it was Forks Over Knives.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, I'll give it a go. I've literally got nothing to lose. I've got everything, I've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain was my mindset. So most people go, oh, yeah, but imagine not eating this for the rest of your life. I was like, imagine getting to 50 and 60 and I've got to have stents, or, I've got to tell my family and my children I might have cancer or diabetes, all these different things. I think I'd happily give up eating these foods that aren't great for you anyway, if it meant I would have a better quality of life and I could reduce the chance of getting any of these illnesses. I thought, if I get there and none of it is true, I've lost nothing. But if I don't do it, I've got everything to lose. So I thought, I'll give it a go, and I just experimented with it and just went along with it. I was worried about protein at first, so I was like supplementing with protein powders as well, but I was eating lots of legumes and beans and all that sort of stuff. So I think I was eating enough. I was still getting bigger. I was still performing in the gym. And then I think What the Health came out, I think. And I was just like, it was just reinforcement of, I think I'm doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just now it was really difficult. I don't know what it's like in America. I think I've been vegan for about 7 or 8 years. I don't know what it was like in America for going out, but in the UK it was really difficult. Eating out was, you basically just had to make meals out of sides, and I'm more of a sweet person, so cakes or sweets and stuff, it was very difficult to get any options. And eating out, especially if you went abroad, like we went to Italy once, and it was hard to find, they didn't even know what vegan was back then, so trying to be able to eat when you went away was really difficult. But I was just like, I'm stubborn, so I was like, I'm gonna see this through and go with it. And my blood pressure went down, my resting heart rate went down, recovering better. I was still able to maintain what I was doing in the gym. So I was just like, I can't see any drawbacks other than it's a pain in the ass to go and eat out. And if it pays off, like I think it would, then I was like, we'll stick going. And now, 7, 8 years later, I'd never go back. Like I said, I give up. I used to recreationally smoke when I was younger, like a social smoker. I used to go out and drink every single weekend. And then I was like, give that up. So I'm teetotal, and it's not hard anymore. I don't think I believe in that it's the best thing I can do for my health. And if I can
That's
live 80, 90, great. But I want to still have that independence when I get to that age. I'm going to do it now, hoping that it will pay off in the future.
that's interesting that it kind of was a domino effect. Like you adopted the healthier diet, and then you were like, you know what, why am I drinking? Why am I, and you made those other improvements in your lifestyle too.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, when you're younger and you go out drinking and like you feel awful and you're like, I'm never doing that again. And
Yeah.
the next weekend comes and you go and do it again. And I think it was like the final time I did it. And I was like, I think it was something that Tony Robbins once talked about, that if you can associate pain to a particular action and real extreme pain, it can put you off from wanting to ever do that again. So it was their way of trying to get people to get over certain things. Is if you attribute pain to every time you think about doing that. So I don't know if I subconsciously did that. Like, I really, really don't want to feel like this anymore. And then it just had that trigger effect of, I don't want to drink anymore because I really don't want to be hungover anymore.
Yeah.
And then the idea of wanting to do it. And then I thought, well, it's not good for my health either. And I want to do this and I want to do that. So yeah, it kind of had a domino effect. And I think then the ethical side, I learned about the ethical side. And then that just reinstilled that I did the plant-based thing for my health, for selfish reasons, if you want to call it that. We've got to be selfish every now and again. I did it for me. And then when I realized that there's a effect that happens outside of me, I was like, well, again, it's just another thing to reinstate why I'm doing it. It's yeah, but health was my main driver and still is my main driver.
Same here. But yeah, it's like you said, and it's like I think Dr. Michael Greger said it. It's really interesting how the diet that's healthiest for our bodies is also best for the environment and the animals on the planet. It's like win-win-win. So
yeah, you get more out of it. But yeah, like I said, when I make a shake and everything like that, his videos, I don't know if you know what amla is, if you use that, or
no.
or Indian gooseberry, it might go over by another name.
I've heard of it. I've never used it.
So like I said, he did videos on how it was great for lowering blood pressure and blood sugar, and it's got other benefits. It's got like the most antioxidants you can have. And then he did turmeric on how it can be anti-cancer and all that sort of stuff. So his videos and stuff on YouTube and everything are just an amazing amount of information there that you can use, you can apply into your life and understand the reason have it. But it was just amazing how what you eat can have such a profound effect on your body. And how I think in our society, we're brainwashed to a degree that if we get a chronic disease, it's purely down to our genes and we can't do anything about it. Your family are fat, you're going to be fat. If your family has cancer or heart disease, you're going to get it. And I think the powerful message that he put in his videos was that genetics play a role, but how we live our life and what we put in our body is a more powerful, what's the word? It's a more of a powerful factor in defining whether those things play out or not. And that was like, okay, well, sweet. Because I've had a close family member that had cancer. I've had other members that had it. And I thought, well, if I can take that into my hands and have control of that, then that's something I'm going to give. And if I get it all down the line, I can look back at it and think, I may have delayed it or I may never get it at all, but it's worth doing it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Campbell said it a slightly different way. He said, genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's really genius because it's like what you just said. It's sure you've got those genes, but are you going to express those genes through your lifestyle? That's really
in those videos, you start to realize that what we see as it was genetic and it was destined to happen when really it was the lifestyles that those families were doing end up having the same results. So the parents ate loads and they were overweight, and it just happens that their kids were as well, and they end up adopting the same eating habits and the same lifestyle choices. So instead of it being genetically down to the bone that you were inevitably going to get that, it ended up being it was the lifestyle that they lived together that contributed to those people getting it. And I was just like, okay, well, if I've got that power in my hands, why not take charge of it? And same as I do with exercise, it's a powerful tool to hopefully prolong how long I live, but also the quality. Why not apply that to my nutrition as well?
Yeah. It's kind of funny when you talk about nutrition and fitness, people automatically just go right to protein and the macros. And it's like, dude, it's way beyond that, way beyond.
Yeah. Because I think you start getting into like antioxidants and phytonutrients and things like that. You start realizing that the foods that we eat, it goes far beyond, like you said, protein, carbs, fats, or even just the vitamins that we think of. There's so much more and also not just there's vitamins in food, but it's also what are they paired with within the food that has a benefit to you that goes far beyond just calories. And building muscle. There's so many different, and this is what's amazing about the human body is there are so many processes that are all going at once that they're all inevitably fueled by what you eat. So you need to give your body what it needs to be able to do what it needs to do. And we're placing stresses on our body all the time, from exercise to pollution, everything like that. The best thing we can do is give the body what it needs to be able to combat all of that. And nutrition is what we do. So I think that's the other thing is people know that smoking's bad for you. And it's bad to have inside your body. And I think they don't think that eating bad food is seen as the equivalent as saying, because you're still ingesting something into your body that can have a harmful effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So
100%.
what was your journey going vegan then?
So when I was lifting weights and bodybuilding, I started at age 16. I was a junior in high school. I bought a book. It was called Gaining Mass by Anthony Ellis, and it taught me to eat chicken breast and brown rice and broccoli and tuna, egg whites, different fish and whey protein shakes and all that stuff. And I ate a lot of protein. I was getting sometimes upwards of 200 grams of protein a day for years, and it caught up with me. When I was 25, went to the doctor for a checkup, and he took my blood pressure and he said, "You've got the blood pressure of a 75-year-old man and you're only 25." And I was like, "What the hell is going on?" Well, you mentioned Forks Over Knives. That documentary was just coming out. And I ended up calling a friend of mine from high school who I knew he went to college for dietetics. And I wanted to solve this. I didn't want to take prescription drugs. I never did. So I called him and I was like, "Mike, what do you know about this? What can I do to fix my blood pressure?" And it turned out I didn't even know it. He was living in my neighborhood. He was like 2 streets down from me. So he came over and he trained me, he like coached me on eating a raw vegan diet. So not just vegan, but raw food. And it was life changing. I can't even tell you how much I detoxified, and like I was sitting on the toilet like 5 times a day in the beginning. Just so much had to come out of me. It was insane. After that first week, it got a lot better, and I just felt absolutely incredible. And then I saw Forks Over Knives near the end of that. I think it was 3 months that I ate raw. When I watched Forks, I was like, okay, here's all these doctors. They're medical doctors. They're showing reversal of heart disease and
Yep.
cancer and diabetes, and they're doing it on a cooked diet. So I was able to ease up a little bit and
Yeah.
have somewhat of a social life. I hit the same problem as you did, where I live in the boonies and there's really not a lot of options for vegans out here. So me and my wife just kind of stayed in. And whenever we went out to like a party or a barbecue or holiday event, we would bring our own food. We would just prepare it ahead of time and bring, our own stuff to eat. We'd bring enough to share though. We wouldn't just have what we have. We would
Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a whole thing for the community. My blood pressure went down, but so many health benefits from it. Everything from GI issues went away, my acne went away, like just so much. I could go on with a list, but it was definitely life changing. And it's now been 12 years. And like you said,
Wow.
there's no going back. I can't call myself a vegan because I've reintroduced fish and eggs in the past. And
Mhm.
whenever I've done that, just to be like more social, like, oh yeah, I'll have some of that salmon. I don't like how I feel. And I go
Yeah. Yeah.
right back to vegan. So
What, you don't like how you feel emotionally or how you feel with your body?
both.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more, believe it or not, it's more physical. If you
Yeah.
add the fish or the eggs back in, I haven't even done poultry and beef in 12 years, but when I added fish and eggs back in, and it became like the first time I was like, oh, I feel fine. So then like a week later, I did it again. And the more frequent it became, the more I started to feel like not as good. Got that stuff out of me again, went back to this. It's hard to describe when you're vegan. It's like this light feeling. I feel light, energetic, and clean. And it's just something you have to experience. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Plant-based food tends to be a lot less in calories as well. So I think it's great for people that want to lose weight. Did you find that you lost a lot of weight doing it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you it was all fat. Maybe some of it was lean
Yeah.
mass. I don't know. But I feel better. And
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
and I always, whenever people like say, well, you'd be bigger if you ate, some meat, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to deny that animal protein is more anabolic than plant protein. I think there's truth to that, especially because that animal comes with hormones. There was, an IGF-1, growth
Mhm.
factors are in there, but that doesn't just grow muscle, it grows cancer. So
Yeah.
it's not just about building muscle, it's about
No.
looking out for your health and longevity.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
And you'll realize that as well is that, okay, you could be bigger, but that won't help your life in any way. And actually
Right.
having too much muscle being too big isn't really good at all. I mean, like I said before, I went plant-based. I was 16 and a bit stone and I was heavy and I did not feel comfortable. I think I used to wake up problems breathing. I think I used to have that sleep apnea at some point. And then it was just like, it's not nice being that heavy. So if you can lose that weight, and it's amazing how much that can make a difference to how you feel, your energy levels, how you move, joints, everything. And I think because it tends to be less, it's more nutrient dense in less calories, more nutrient dense, you'll
Yes.
find you'll lose a lot of weight, but you'll end up giving the body all these sort of vitamins, minerals, especially like you mentioned with the fiber and going toilets. A lot of people probably are. I think Dr. Greger did a thing where he said, like, if you wanted to test how quick your tract was to eat beetroot or drink beetroot juice and time how long it went from here to there.
Yep.
And it would give you an idea of how efficient your tract is. And ideally, you want it to be efficient. But yeah, you'll be surprised that there's so many more benefits than just losing weight that will come with it, that you don't know how good you feel. It's hard to explain, like you said, that people, I feel good, but like you don't know how good you feel until you start eating that way. And I notice, like, you may be able to attest to this as well, that if you ever eat junk food, vegan junk food or whatever, you eat it for a little and you feel lousy. And then when you go back to eating well, the difference it makes, it's night and day. And I don't think people realize how good it does feel eating that way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Junk food does it. And for me, the animal products do it too.